Welcome to the Roundup. It's Bertram Lancico, and it's a pleasure to be with each of you here today. We have a decent number of RSVPs. We've been promoting today's topic and the Roundup for a little while. And if this is your first time, maybe we have recently connected. I've been booked to speak, let's say, at your local chapter or at your local association meeting. Hello, my name is Bertram Lancico. This is what I look and what I sound like. I've been involved in revenue cycle, health information management, more on the staffing and executive recruiting side for over 10 years. I've been a peak performer within the first 6 months of me getting started. And what is a peak performer? A peak performer is somebody who is able usually to rise up the ranks pretty quickly and identify and understand the market. So I started within health information management and revenue cycle recruiting with 0 years of recruiting experience. Some of you may not know, but way back then, when you work for a staffing company, and even if you had experience, we did not have a very high success rate. It's very interesting. There were a lot of people that were successful in recruiting, medical coders, for example. I'm sorry, nurses, for example. When it came to medical coders, they just couldn't get it. You know, it's easier in some aspects, able to hire people remotely all over the country and all of those details. But the ability to find enough people and put them through your pipeline. Also, they're talking with other recruiters and companies as well. So for them to trust and get on board with you and then hopefully send their friends, it's a whole big challenge. So I cannot say I was very successful straight out the bat. My first month or two, I didn't have a lot of high level inpatient acute care coders. I had a lot of physician coders, but believe it or not, I was working on building that pipeline. We had this huge project from a client out in California, and what I recognized we had a trend. Every 3 to 6 months, this client would come through and want to hire like 30 people. So I said, you know what? If I can't find a lot of coders, at the highest level, let me get the profi coders because we can still use them. I didn't have any placements, ladies and gentlemen, right? And I was in love with my wife. We were not married, but I knew like I had to make it work. My former employer, that's a whole nother story, but my former employer before my first recruiting gig, they marked me as like non-rehireable. They kind of like shamed me when I put in my resignation. After 3.5 years of working with them diligently, helping them out on the enrollment side, providing enrollment side, saving them millions of dollars in timely filing and all that good stuff. My boss just blacklisted me. So I didn't have a backup plan. I had no plan B, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm telling you, for me to recognize that this client hired around 30 or so coders on that first project that I was able to be a part of. I hired 7 coders. Everybody's like, what's Bertram doing? But behind the scenes, I had my acute care coders coming. I had inpatient coders. I had outpatient coders. And then I had a buzz. Within my first year, I recruited over 67 HIM professionals to work for my employer. Funny story, the recruiter that's at the highest level the year before only hired around 35 coders. So we blew it out of the water. But ever since then, I've just found a passion, and I just love, revenue cycle, and I love revenue cycle recruiting and staffing. And finally, now getting to the place that through Renown Talent, we are having our own staffing contracts. We're in talks with facilities. Now we're even possibly doing outsources here come very soon. So I am looking forward to sharing that journey with each and every one of you, but more importantly, sharing the testimonies and the lessons learned, because that's what the Roundup is all about. The Roundup is a gathering for us to get together and learn more about revenue cycle. Revenue cycle is a lot more than coding. Coding is a big part of it, right? But that's why they call it a revenue cycle. Coding is only one aspect. Usually they tell me it's in the middle, right? Or here, it's in the middle. You have the whole, patient coming in and the registration all the way to the billing and the collections and getting things out the door and timely filing to the payers. So we are here to bring all of us together. We're here for this to be virtual. Today, we have a really good opportunity because the speaker that's coming to us is going to help us understand about certifications, credentialing, some best practices, and they are even sponsoring and offering a free AHIMA CEU to anyone who watches today's episode. So I'm going to go to the banners, and please share with us where you're from. As I have mentioned before, utilizing this platform is fantastic because we can stream, let's say, to YouTube as well as LinkedIn and some other platforms at the same time. The only issue comes in the comments. Not all the comments, unfortunately, come through. So I'm signing in right now to the events page, and we were having technical difficulties. So if you were ready exactly at noon, thank you for coming. But as you saw, I spoke for like a whole 10 seconds and I was on mute. So we've had a few technical difficulties. And here's Betty. She's chiming in with that world famous, "Hey, y'all." Betty, appreciate you. She was a recent speaker on the Roundup last month. And all of our roundups are saved to YouTube. So I'm going to be sharing those links more often as people may want to watch them and go through the lessons learned. So Betty and I, we talked about compliance and all of that good stuff. So where are we? Hold on, give me 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. Here it is. Okay. So I'm going live to the page so I can try not to miss any comments. Okay, so here we are. So I see Sonia, thank you for tuning in. We have Amanda, Heather, we have John as well from New Jersey, and all of you have commented. And it's funny, so I am on there and I've only seen John. So I didn't see Sonia, I didn't see a few others. So I'll make sure to go back and forth during the live stream to make sure that we get any and all comments. But really appreciate you and let's have a lot of fun. Okay, cool. So what's the mission of the Roundup? The mission is for us to get 100 people within revenue cycle hired in their positions. With some of the things that we're going to be working on, and this may be even a year or 2 years out, I believe that's going to be a much be done at a greater capacity. Now onesie twosies here or there. So we have 3 or so far. I had records of a 4th one that was actually hired during the winter break, but I lost the record. I lost a name. I can't find where that person is. So I'm like, you know what? That's fine. We'll keep that at 3 for now. But we are going to have a fantastic time and just learning a lot about our topic today. We have Sierra, I believe Sierra from Tampa. All right. Go Buccaneers, right? Monday Night Football. If you didn't see that, watch the preview. You know, they did a really good job. Go Bucks. You know, it's funny, like I've been a Bucks fan before they had Brady and before they, you know, all of these things, you know, even back in Tony Dungy days, right? Like been a Bucks fan forever and seeing them, what they pulled off Monday night was just fantastic. So I think they just have a lot of magic going on over there right now. We have Beverly, thank you and good afternoon from North Carolina. Okay. John said Refka. Yeah, was it Refka? I may need to think about that because I don't know if we've officially talked to her. So Refka is someone that was more entry level, ladies and gentlemen. She tuned into all of our live streams whenever we were on. She posts a lot on LinkedIn about her journey. You know what's so crazy? She was just going on and doing her business, and she actually got hired into an inpatient coding position as an entry level coder. So what I'm doing is I'm giving her time. I have invited her to the Roundup to share with us her experiences. You have to realize you don't have to be, let's say, you know, a full-blown, let's say, inpatient coder for 10 years to be a guest speaker. There are a lot of lessons that even she can share with us, and she shares a lot of them on what is it, on our feeds, right, on our walls. But what I would like to do is to put a voice to a face to the name and to hear them speak and for them to share their testimony with us. So she's coming at a future Roundup. We do have her booked. We are actually booked out every single week on the Roundup episodes from now and I believe through March. So for the next 8 or so weeks, we have lined up speakers for you. I have a lot of things going on. We're going to be at speaking events. We're going to be traveling. So the Roundup is probably going to be going on the road with me, but that's what this is all about. This is also about me sharing my journey with you and everything that's going on. So, you know, there's a lot for us to definitely talk about. We have Tammy from West Virginia. Thank you so much. Betty's asking if she's dating herself from the McKay days. Yeah, probably. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I look at myself when it comes to Chrissy. Hello, thank you for coming. I look at myself in regards to revenue cycle that I'm kind of getting into a dinosaur age. You know, there are a lot of I'll say there are a lot of youngins, right, when it comes to this field and this industry. But you know what though? It's all love. You know, this it's all about us helping each other. And what really helped me out a lot and still helps me today in my business is the mentor and the gentleman that took time. I had a failed interview for a recruiter position and I was just bummed. And I had this like look on my face and someone within the hospital, within my employer, she looked at me, she's like, Bertrand, what's wrong? You're not like this. You're usually bubbly, everything's fine. I'm like, I just had a failed interview and nobody wants to hire me for a recruiter position. And she said, my husband's looking for a really good recruiter. And 10 plus years later, here I am, and I'm still in talk with that gentleman today. He's not just like a career mentor. He's like a life mentor to me right now. Right. He recently sold his company. He's spending his time traveling the world, but he's so like, how can I say, down to earth, easy to talk to, easy to text. I try not to bother him a lot. He's a very important person, but it's like I just love his demeanor and how he takes care of his family and how his family is very important to him. I mean, that's what we're striving for, right? Why are you striving for success and all of the awards and accolades? It's to spend more time with your family and doing things that you love. So, really, a life mentor. But yeah, let's get going. So today we are going to be speaking with Kengia about medical coding certification, CEs, and testing. We're going to have her company and the one that she represents so qualified as a vendor spotlight. And I'm also going to be sharing jobs and opportunities and go with an Ask a Mr. B question. Now, the thing with the Ask a Mr. B question, I usually have one that I've saved because we don't really get a lot live. I think by the 40th or so minute, people have to sign off, go back to work. Totally understand. If you want to go ahead and ask a question, go in the comments right now and ask me a question. Have it hashtag ask Mr. B and whatever your question is. So whether it's about hiring, resume, interviewing, whatever the case may be, feel free to put any or none of your business out there, and we are here to help. That's what it's all about. It's all about us going back and forth. Unless you have to go back to work, perfectly fine. Go back to work, and then these are recorded, so you can come back to this very same link and watch it and even jump to the part where we're going to have the questions and answers section. So feel free to do that at any time. Hashtag ask Mr. B. I have a question. This is what it is, and we are going to try to answer it live for you. Okay. Also, we do the candidate showcase. So if you're currently looking for opportunities, I'm going to put this in the chat. Feel free to share with us what you're looking for. So let's say, for example, I'm a candidate. I'm an inpatient coder. This is the city and state that I live in. This is my skill set. This is my email address. This will also give employers, recruiting people, an opportunity to reach out to you. Okay, so this can also go both ways. So we're going to be sharing jobs. You can reach out directly to those employers, but also feel free to share your information if you like people to reach out directly to you. And it may not come in the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and in the comments right now, I'm going to add that link as well, not that link, that format to just helping us understand more about your background so you can go ahead and share it. So let's go ahead and let's bring on our speaker. But first and foremost, I am going to introduce her. So let's get this to be a little bit bigger. There you go. Cool. So Kengia Sabree, she's known as the HIM certification coach. She definitely has her BS from Dubai and her MS in instructional design and technology from Walden University. She completed her doctoral coursework in higher education leadership and management. So she is a doctor, ladies and gentlemen. We are blessed with doctors as well on our little roundup here. So she obtained her RHIT as well as her RHIA and CCA as well. And then she joined HIMSS and she achieved her CAHIMS credential. So that's the thing. I know a lot of us in terms of recruiting and staffing agencies, we're all going to be about the AHIMA and the AAPC credentials. What I love about what she's doing with the qualified is that they also help and assist people when they need those HIMSS credentials. You have to remember, this is so much bigger than coding. It's so much bigger than AHIMA and the AAPC. You're also dealing with HIMSS, right? You're also dealing with HFMA, so these are associations that we'll also be a part of. We'll also go to their events, and a lot of these other associations offer credentials as well. So I love AHIMA, I love AAPC, but there are other associations that people can help you get those certifications for. Okay. So she transitioned to academia, and really she helps people when it comes to testing for certifications and prepping for them, CEs, as well as securing employment. So she was running into some technical difficulties. We tested it for around like 20 or so minutes. So hopefully none of that happens right now. But if it does, we just ask for your patience. But thank you so much for coming and joining. Let's go ahead and let's bring her to the stage. Hey, how are you doing?
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited
Wow.
to be
You're
here.
like, you're perfect. I can hear you. I can see you.
Perfect,
Like,
perfect.
fantastic.
It was the computer restart, so yeah.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. What did they say? It's that old school like a Control Alt Delete, right?
That's right, yep.
And just as a quick little reminder, so ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned. At the end of this presentation, we're going to provide you an email, and you'll be able to request your free AHIMA CEU directly from the qualified. Okay, so that is going to be offered to you. You know what? Even if you don't have a HEMA credential, request it anyway, because you never know what's going to happen. You may say, you know what? After talking with Bertram and Kengia on the roundup, I'm going to go get my CCS, and you're going to need those, right?
Right.
So
It's true.
definitely stay tuned. And thank you so much for joining us. She's local to me. I don't know, maybe next time we should just meet up and just like have like it streamed live with the both of us. That
That
would,
would be fantastic.
yeah. So what would you say is the significance of coding revenue cycle certifications in 2024?
Oh man. So coding and revenue side of certifications, they play a pivotal role in the healthcare industry, first of all, by
Mm,
ensuring professionals possess like specific skills that's critical
correct.
for effective healthcare management. So when we
Uh-huh.
think about coding, precise coding is essential for proper reimbursement, for compliance
Hmm.
with regulations, and maintaining those medical records. So, certified coders, they contribute to improved patient care, streamline billing processes, and
Yes.
they help reduce errors in healthcare documentation. So, very important role. But I do want to say that the demand for coding professionals is really at an all-time high.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
just due to those regulatory requirements, transition to the EHR systems,
Hmm.
the demand for telehealth brings.
Yes.
There's just so many reasons. There's so many reasons. So I wholeheartedly believe like this is the place to be.
Fantastic, fantastic. And you know, it's interesting. During my tenure in recruiting, I've run into and met very talented folks that they are working at their employer, their facility forever, and then all of a sudden they're on the market. But the
Yep.
one thing that they didn't do was they didn't get credentialed. So my whole thought process is, well, why don't you just go ahead, schedule to take the test and take it? And I understand because all of us have issues with standardized testing, you know, because let's say you live in Kentucky and whatever, the coding that they do, when you go to take a standardized test, it may be by national guidelines. Fine and fantastic. But it's always a good thing to have those things in your hats. Also, another great tip is once you have them, you never want to let them go. You know, even if you retire, I say implement the 5 year rule. Like renew it for the next 5 years just in case, because
I
a lot
like
of us and a lot of our parents, you know, our grandparents generation, they've gone through retirement, they've planned for it, they had their 401ks, but maybe those investments didn't pan out the way that they planned. So they can quickly run out of their, you know, retirement savings in 5 to 10 years, or they can realize it's quickly dwindling. So don't let those credentials just go by the wayside.
I
Stay up
agree
to date just in
wholeheartedly.
case, because that happens all the time.
Coding is a skill. And if you
Correct.
took the time to learn that skill, keep
Correct.
that skill as long as you can. I'm seeing that too. A lot of second career, third career professionals coming
Correct.
into coding to help supplement that retirement income.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now let's go ahead and let's start to explore some of the coding and revenue cycle certifications. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm not on the comments right now, but if you're going to have comments for us, we're going to go and have a Q&A session at the end. So feel free to type in those questions right now. We'll come back to them. Or if you want to wait till that section to ask them, that's perfectly fine as well. Okay. So let's
Okay.
explore coding and
Well,
revenue cycle
Bertram, you took
certifications.
the time and you jumped into certifications in the beginning. So you named a couple.
Uh-huh.
So there, like you said, there's plenty out there, but
Hmm.
I want to give you guys at least 10 of my favorites, okay? Or
Okay.
10 that I feel like are the most popular right now. So we have the CCSP from AHIMA, we have the
Uh-huh.
CCS from AHIMA, we have the CRCR by AFMA, which you mentioned, right? We have our CPC, we have our CIC, we have our CRC, right?
Hmm.
We have our CPB, we have
Okay.
our CPMA.
Yes.
That one got hot a couple years ago, and it's still going
It's still
strong.
hot. Yep.
Mhm. We have the CPCO, which is the compliance one. And I know you're going to have a compliance speaker at the next talk, right?
Yes.
So you guys be sure to tune into that if you're interested in compliance.
Mhm.
I think that was 9, right? Okay, so then I'm going to throw the CDIP in there. So, the
Nice.
CIP is for a HEMA, but then you have AAPC, who also has like the CDEO for outpatient. So
Yes.
that's about 10 of them that you guys should be looking into or exploring if you're interested in earning a revenue cycle certification.
Yeah. And one thing I'll always ask folks to do is to kind of plan out your career. And yeah, it's the old recruiting question, or hiring question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yep.
But you know what? I take that like cold-heartedly. Like, I truly mean it when I speak to my candidates, because if we are not truly focused on where we're going, what's going to happen is that you're going to be steered either by the economy, by your employer, or whatever you fall into, and you don't want to do that. For example, a lot of folks may have gone to school, and let's say they just got their RHIT. So they spent the 2 years, they got tested and they passed the test. So now they have the RHIT. Fantastic. But then, their professor said, hey, why don't you just do 2 more years and get your RHIA? You never know what might happen. Oh no, I want to get to work and all this stuff. You can still go to work and you can still work on that additional 2 years, right? No, 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 it's fine. So they don't get it. But then 5, 10 years from now, oh, I want to be a manager. I want to be a director. I really want to go
And it
there,
requires that bachelor's
and it
degree.
requires a bachelor's. So it's almost like, if you've done the 2 years and if it wasn't that hard, and if, I don't know, depending, right? You can be 40 years old, 50 years old, living at your mom's house or dad's house, or you could be 20. But if it's a possibility for you to get to know the industry a little bit more, and I know it's some financial investment, but can you imagine the investment back that you're going to get from spending the additional 2 years and then working as a director? There's a director that I know, and I had lunch with her a month or two ago, and she told me, she said, Bertram, at the high level, there's actually revenue up there just for those directors. And she said, the funny thing, that money wasn't even supposed to be for us. But once they realized how important it was for us to help them with the revenue, they put incentives there for us. So for her, she never imagined like making as much money as she's making right now, but she just kept on doing what she was doing. She it's funny, very high level, 1,000 bed, 12 hospital site director. She still attends her local meetings in the APC. She's a part of it. She volunteers. She does what she has to do, and there's a lot of money that's out there that's untapped. So I'm not saying that it all has to be about money, but that return investment potential is definitely there for each and every one of you.
I agree. And you said something about it being an investment, not only about time and money, right? But I
Hmm.
want you to understand that doesn't always have to come out of your own pocket, right? So if
Ooh.
you're working, look for that tuition reimbursement. I tell people
Hmm.
all the time, not just to pursue the degree, but to pursue the certification.
Mm.
Ask them if they'll reimburse you if you get certified, or if a promotion comes along with getting certified.
Correct.
Recently I hear a lot of people saying, well, we don't necessarily need certifications, or you can still land this amount of money or these particular jobs without certification, which is true if you have the correct strategy. But why not earn certification, right?
Exactly.
And then, like you said, if something were to happen a little bit down the line and you find yourself in a tough job market, or just in a situation where you're unemployed, now you not only have to go back to school, but you have to earn the certification. So why not just have it so that you don't have to get it later?
There you go. There you go. And that's what I'm all about. I'm all about doing it now so I don't have to do it later. I'm not
That's
saying
right.
that we need to build a whole road or whatever, now, but if you're there, you already know the instructors, you already have the programs, you already have the right coaches around you. Just go and do that next step. Hey, it's only another 2 years. You know how fast 2 years can pass? I mean, my kids
It's a
now
pass
are
either way,
correct. My
right?
my kids are 4 and 6, and I still remember when they were like newborns, right? And I'm just like, oh my goodness, time just flies by. So I know that all of us can definitely attest to that. What about the benefits? Because there's
Ooh.
some people that I love to crack on, because it almost seems like every 3 to 6 months it's an additional certification. Like, their LinkedIn name is so long because of the certifications, they've like run out of space and letters if this was Scrabble, right? But what about
Yes,
the benefits
no,
of earning
it's
those certifications?
okay, so that's true. And the alphabet soup, right, is what we call it. But it really does enhance your career prospects,
It does.
and I'm not sure that people realize that. So it's going to help you stand out in a competitive job market. When I was a hiring manager, I was an HIM director. And if I had resumes on my desk I'm going to always call the certified professional over the non-certified professional, because it showed me that they have the expertise, they were willing to invest in themselves. So I'm a firm believer that it does help you stand out. Okay.
Hmm.
The certifications, they open doors to just diverse roles, whether that be in
That's
medical
true.
coding, in revenue cycle, just in healthcare in general, right? You want to be that service matter expert. And I think that's a benefit that comes along with earning certification.
Correct, correct. You're gonna be, and you're also gonna be better around it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
not saying that we shouldn't specialize, but once you've reached the peak within that specialization, it's revenue cycle, right? You learning about other facets, other specialties, having other certifications is only gonna better help you as a
Right.
speaker, understanding more is going on. I remember probably one of the key things for me in my career is I didn't just learn my job, I also learned the cycle of the job before me and the job after me. And when I heard about a lot of the horror stories they were having, I took my candidates and I put them in a corner and we talked and we said, hey, you know what? You're going to go through this and you have to do this, because every client was different. Some clients required you had to actually do an on-site drug test and all these things. So when you talk to them and they know, like, yes, I have to go to take my drug screen. So when the drug screen person calls to schedule them, they're not like hiding or ducking or avoiding the calls. They're like, yeah, Bertrand told me about it. I'm ready next week, Friday. What's up? Like, it makes it so much easier. And I think the key takeaway for a lot of people as well is try to learn your job in the front and the back. It's
Right.
just going to make you better. It's going to help
Mhm.
you work out with your team. It's going to help better prep the people that you're working with. Yeah, revenue cycle, medical records, you're not always dealing with, let's say, the CDI team or the doctors in the querying and the process. But just talking to a doctor when you get a chance, or the CAI team as to, hey, coders in general, not about myself because I'm perfect, but coders in general, what are one of the pet peeves that you have that we can do better? Oh, you know what? You guys never do this. You know what? All right. I'm going to make a note. And anybody that I train coming up, I'm going to make sure they do this.
Right.
You're
That
like,
workflow process.
exactly. So, just understanding how everything works together is only going to make it easier
That's
for each
right.
and every one of
And
us to
like you
work
said, if
together.
there's gaps, then it helps you to fill in those gaps, address those gaps so that things
Hmm.
run the way that they're supposed to.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
you said something that kind of got me thinking, right? You said it's not only about the money, but money makes a difference, right? We
Oh,
all
yeah.
want to get paid what we're worth. So I think that's where certifications come in at. But I want to encourage you guys to read those salary surveys. Not only read them, but participate in them. Okay.
Mm,
So, AAPC, their salary survey mentioned, the last one, that those without certification, they average only making about $46,000 a year. Okay.
hmm.
Certified medical record specialists average about
56. I saw that.
$56,290 a year, which is a 17% difference. So
Wow.
that again, that makes a difference. Actis, their salary survey should be dropping at the end of this month. So the 2022 survey talked about the pay gap between like CDI folks who have RHIA and RHIT versus just RNs.
Hmm.
And the gap between those are constantly closing, and it's slowly closing. So
Yes.
that's good. That tells us that there's more of us, RHIA, RHIT, getting into those roles, right? And we're making just as much
Hmm.
as those RNs.
There you go.
Yeah.
Mic
So,
drop.
yeah, I mean, get those certifications, y'all. Seriously, they
Wow.
also mentioned that those who have that CDIP credential,
Uh-huh.
78% earned at least $100,000 a year.
There you go. Oh,
So
man.
things to consider, just things to consider.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. They were not expecting all of this good stuff on the roundup today.
Oh,
They were not expecting it. And that's what I like when I looked at my network, and I'm not saying I'm anyone, but when I looked at my network and I'm like, man, if I could imagine bringing like these types of people to this platform and just share with my network. And I know a lot of recruiters, I know a lot, I know a lot of salespeople. And I know a lot of them may not be having these conversations, but I even thought, just from an executive staffing perspective, what if I could also be a conduit to help them understand
mhm.
the types of conversations that we can be having? Because it's funny, from a recruiting standpoint, we almost know everybody, but we at the same
Right.
time don't know anyone, because we're usually talking to candidates. They may not be the executive decision makers, but it doesn't also mean that we cannot get there. you know. Um, so those are definitely a lot of benefits. What about challenges in regards to certifications and HM
Okay.
professionals?
So can we engage with the audience really quick? Because
Sure.
I want to see what they think common challenges are, like why people don't get certified.
Hold on, hold on. Let's see, let's see.
And then I'll give you my top 6 in no particular order.
Okay. So we're asking the audience for common challenges. I'm going to go to LinkedIn
Okay.
itself as well to see if we have any comments there as well. As I mentioned, sometimes the platform doesn't provide. So John mentioned time. He said time is a really big
Bingo.
challenge when it comes to
Yep.
getting those additional certification. And he has an alphabet soup there as
Yes, he
well.
does.
Thank you, John.
He has the time, or he made the time, right? Whether we have the time or not, we make the time for the things that
Correct.
we want to make time for.
Okay. Tammy has mentioned money.
Money.
So
That's
time
right.
and money for her. She said both.
Yeah.
Chrissy mentioned test
Oh my gosh,
anxiety.
they're dropping them.
Test
Test
anxiety.
anxiety, another big one. Absolutely.
Yes, yes.
So
And
we
yeah, we
recently
have
partnered with a company called Bell Blossom.
okay.
They do breath work for people who suffer with testing anxiety. So if you head over to the qualified, or if you're someone who suffers with testing anxiety, we have something to help you. So,
Wow. Wow, that's awesome.
okay. So I'm going to drop the other ones. Mindset.
Mm.
There's so many people that I work with that struggle with the mindset. I feel like I want to say 80 or 90% of earning certification is believing that you're going to earn this certification,
Yeah.
right? And some people, I mean, I worked with somebody yesterday.
Mm.
You know what? I truly don't believe I deserve to have this certification. And that
Wow.
just like pierced my heart because
Mm.
people do believe that. So I think addressing those negative, that negative mindset is your first step. Okay.
Wow.
Because we can always carve out the time, right? We can always learn to manage our time. We can do things to get back some of our time, right? Or
Correct.
let certain things go. But that mindset is a big one. Work-life balance, which also I feel like comes into play with that time management, right?
Hmm.
Because we get so busy at work, we're so overwhelmed. When we get home, we don't want to study, right? We don't
Mm.
have time to study. Our brain is fried.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then the last, okay, so there's 2 more. One is struggling to see the value, whether it's
Hmm.
them or the employer. And I feel like if your employer doesn't see the value in your certification, it makes me want to tell you to get a new employer, right? But I need you to see the value, right?
Yeah.
Because there's life beyond your employer, right? We don't know if you're going to be there forever.
Hold on, hold on. You need to say that again because I need to make sure
There
that
is
they hear this.
life beyond your employer,
Mm.
right? So I need you to prepare yourself
Wow.
for that. Okay.
Oh, man.
And then the last one that's common is not having a strategy. Some people tell me all the time, I
Sure.
just don't know where to start,
Start. Yep.
right? So let us help you. Let us help you figure that piece out.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. That mindset portion you just mentioned is a big thing because oh wow, I mean we need to that needs to be a whole different round
Yes.
because the
Yes.
thing
I'm
is
thinking about
is
you.
that yeah, well, I deal with it all the time too because whenever we're talking to people or even clients in terms to help them, they have this idea or this ideology of the things that they would like, either for their team, for their for their careers, and you can even have a better solution, cheaper solution. You can even have the best job for them, but
Mhm.
sometimes you're so mentally tied to what they're doing and how they're stuck. They're
Yep.
stuck in being stuck, if that makes
Yep.
sense,
It
right? It's
does.
almost like they're stuck in mud and they took the wheels off. And you're like, well, if you don't even have wheels, how are you going to get out? And
Mhm.
I did this with coaching. And it's one of the reasons why I don't really do coaching anymore is because I realized that you can't really coach somebody that doesn't want to be coached out of a problem.
Bingo. Bingo.
It's
Mhm.
like, well, hey, you can actually work remotely and make probably around this amount of money and all these things. You don't have to deal with all the stresses at your employer. And a lot of stress and anxiety came to them because it's funny, as much as they didn't like, let's say, how they were treated, the money that they were making, that was part of their identity. So the first part
It's
in us,
familiar. It's comfortable.
correct, correct. The devil that you know is, yeah. So yeah, oh, man, I can go on for hours, and we don't have
Nope. So
hours,
we're gonna talk
unfortunately,
about this
today.
again because
Yeah,
it is
we need
really
to.
important.
What about the recertification requirements? And I know this is like the
Oh,
hot topic, probably a
oh,
whole nother roundup by itself, but I'd
it
love to
is.
get
It
your
really is.
take on
So
them.
just for your audience, just remember that this piece of the conversation, right, is specific to AHIMA's certifications. AHIMA recently released an update to their recertification policy, and in there, right, they almost mandated, that's exactly what they did. They mandated that we start earning 40% of our required CEUs from them.
Mhm.
Okay. So after the uproar, right, from their members, from the CSAs, which is the state associations, they decided to defer that until January 1st, 2025. So we bought us some time, a little bit of time. There's actually a change.org petition going around right now for members to sign. So keep an eye out for that,
Yes.
because I feel like we shouldn't be forced to earn our CEUs with a particular organization, right? You tell us how many we need to earn. And I think for all of us who are certified, we do a great job at earning them. However, we
Correct.
choose, whether we go to an organization where we thoroughly like their, their content, we feel like we get the most value, it pertains to what we're doing in our job. Like, what if I go to a HEMA and I find like there's nothing that I want to take, or nothing that relates to the work that I'm doing,
Doing true.
so then I'm still forced to choose something, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely a very big piece, and I've seen a lot of it. What we should do, and so it's funny you mentioned that change.org petition. I saw it this morning.
Oh,
So
you did? Okay.
either one of our members or you yourself, if you could come and comment and just let people know that this is what we're talking about, just to share that link in the comments, that'd be fantastic. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a very hot topic, and I don't know if we're gonna have a lot of power, but you know what? That's not us. That's not up to us to decide. It's just more about
Right.
you voicing your opinion, if
I
you do
agree.
have an opinion about it. So if you have an opinion about it, voice your opinion and let your local chapters, groups, and regional associations know. Speak to your leadership at those meetings, and just let them know your opinion. And I think they will also give feedback to the mothership, and hopefully we can have a different take. It's really, I don't know. This is out of left field. I couldn't have predicted this happening ever,
Well,
but
okay. Can I say something? Because I think
sure.
this is so important when you're considering, if you're somebody in the audience and you're not yet certified, I think that it's important that you explore the certification agencies, right?
Mm,
Their memberships, their benefits, what do they give you, right? And then their requirements. Can I meet these requirements? Are these requirements reasonable? Because I think we're at the point where we really need to start, I don't want to say shopping around, right? But
mhm,
really aligning ourselves with the organizations that align with our career strategy, with our values, who we are as people, if that exists, right? Um,
correct.
but I recently crafted a letter to AHIMA and I haven't mailed it out just yet. But I want to say it doesn't just address the recertification policy update. It also addressed the grace period, right? Or the lack thereof. We used to
Hmm.
have a grace period and now we don't have a grace period anymore.
Ooh,
And I'm going to tell you a story because, and I haven't shared this with anybody,
share it on
but
the roundup. Let's go.
I woke up on New Year's Day and I almost had a panic attack. I was on a road trip, and all of a sudden, it came to me that I forgot to renew my certification. And
Hmm.
I had to pull over because I was freaking out. I'm like, I'm known for certification. How can I lose my certifications, right?
It's true.
So I logged into my AHIMA account, and thankfully, I did renew it, right? I renewed it, but it was my HIMS certification that I did not renew. And
Mm,
it just rolls me into the grace period that next day,
Nice.
right? And I'm thinking, state, right? But it just reinforced for me how important that grace period. Give people some grace.
Yes,
It
yes,
was a
yes.
30-day grace period,
Wow.
so I really, I felt a type of way that that was taken away, and I'm very surprised that when it was taken away, that people didn't, voice their opinions more on that.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh, oh.
Yeah,
It's like you're like, I work in certifications every day. Like
I
we have them,
do,
we give
I
them out.
do,
But
but it's
how
you
did
know
I even like miss it? So yeah.
unless you are logging your CEUs, I mean, we don't get in there as much as we probably need to, but
Mm,
I put the alerts on my calendar. I do things to try and, help me remember, but, sometimes life gets in the way. Like we all
true.
know that, so, but I feel
True.
like we shouldn't be penalized for that.
That's true. That's true. And it's funny. My wife's a dental hygienist, and the same thing for her. I mean, it's a state
Mhm.
licensure, but they use a CE broker, essentially this platform. They use a
Yep,
platform to make sure that the credentials that she does and the CEs are current, and then they'll let the state know, and that goes into the back end as to it won't even allow you to pay for them unless you have them in there.
that's
But
right.
shouldn't we have something like that on the revenue cycle side, that as soon as you have them, or you attend that, you attend it, that you send them, and they will kind of like let you know. I don't know, maybe that's something that
Yes,
we
it
can
is. And
work
I think
on.
there's an organization out there,
Yeah,
almost sure there is, who would do
yeah,
that for revenue cycle.
yeah, because I think one of the things you're talking about is just helping people make sure, because I'm
Right.
thinking we're at a conference, you're at all of these things. Wouldn't it be nice to almost like have a stamp, or just show something, or just get a little paper on your way out, and you can drop it by that vendor, and they'll make sure that it goes in.
It
Yes,
gets
at the big
recorded.
shows
I
they try
love
to
that.
make sure. Well, some of the big shows, they try to make sure, or they'll put little tags on your names to make sure that you've gone in, and how much time you spent and you left, and all of that stuff. But
Yep.
when that doesn't work, what are you supposed to do, right? So yeah, we need to
Yeah,
figure it
and
out.
technology is way too advanced for us to still be manually recording our CEUs. Let's be
Correct.
honest. You know?
Correct.
So I do appreciate when those badges record how much time in the sessions that we attended. So that's helpful.
Okay. All right. I am missing a slide, so I'm going to figure this out. I want to go
Okay.
to the comments for Q&A.
All right. Let's see if we have any.
Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. I did see one from Christy. So she said that her college, Brighton Stratton, is not on the CAHIA list, and so she's asking if she should switch to an approved one to help in her HIM career. They are paying for CCA and CCSP through AHIMA, but she wants a bachelor's degree in the future.
Oh, yes. And I am comfortable having this conversation with you offline.
Okay,
I
that's
think that
probably a
it's
better way.
important to go to the KHIM website and see if they at least apply to become accredited, right? Because if they
Correct.
did, then once they are accredited, it would apply to the students in the program. So you might not
Correct.
necessarily have to switch just yet. If you're only focused on coding right now, see if they have an approved PCAP program. So though they may not be
Hmm.
KM accredited, if they have that PCAP accreditation, then you're safe to take your CCA or CCS.
There you go. There you go.
That's the short answer.
Fantastic. In terms of some of the fears, or things that's holding people back from getting those additional credentials, Betty commented failure.
That's right. That
Hmm.
is right. I don't want to fail, but I feel like you won't know unless you try,
That's true
right?
too.
So it's something that's, false evidence, what appearing real, right?
Yes, yes,
Mhm,
yes,
and not to say that their feelings aren't valid because they are, but I think in order for us to have the outcome, we have to try. We have to take the test.
yes, yes.
Mhm. So let's switch that, right? What if you pass?
There you go. That's true. That's true. I think, and for me, probably back to an old Will Smith quote, just more about even being like afraid of fear itself, right?
Yep.
Like I don't want to be fearful of anything. And I'm
Yep.
telling you, when you're, and I'm talking to the doctor here. You can also attest to this. When you're starting your own agency, you're starting your own company, you're going to be doing something new in a new field, and you're going to get up against juggernauts and all of these things. You're going to feel so, how can I say, just not qualified.
Of course.
You're going to feel unqualified. You're going to
I
feel like
love
you
that.
can't do
It's
this, right?
true.
But you know what though? It's okay. Like,
Or that
like
imposter syndrome that people are always talking about. It is
correct,
so true.
correct.
Mhm.
So, wow, it's
So
been
we
a
just gotta go
pleasure to
for
have
it.
you on.
Thank you for
You
having me.
know,
I
we
enjoyed this. I
yeah,
thoroughly
we're
enjoyed.
gonna we're gonna have to have you back on again because we're at the 46 or so minute. I know some people
Okay.
have already returned to work,
Okay.
but
All right.
that's
Sounds
okay.
good.
So
Thank you.
let's do this. So if you stay tuned for so long, we really appreciate you. Now, please contact the qualified directly. So email them at ceucenter@thequalified.com and request your one AHEMA CEU credit hour. And just tell them in the email, hey, I enjoyed your session with Bertram on the roundup, and feel free to send it to me. And they'll send it directly to you. We
Yeah,
felt it was better to do it this way rather than me send them emails or whatever the case may be. Just much easier to email them. They have it, and that's actually sponsored by them as well, meaning
that's right.
they took their time, they took their money, they wanted to provide that value. That's why, if you can tell, today's roundup is a little bit more scheduled, or how can I say, a little more like we had an agenda. We kind of had to go through those things because that is a requirement for a HEMA to provide those. So I really want to appreciate the audience, right? I really want to appreciate you as well for coming to the roundup.
Thank
We
you
had
for
such
having
a
me.
great conversation, and I'm looking forward to having these again. Just as another little shout out, the Qualified has been a featured vendor because I see a lot of value in you know people getting additional certifications. So if we still have that promo code going on, if you
Yes,
need a
yes,
workshop, if you need some help getting certification, don't be like a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people try to take the CCS as an example, they fail and then they
that
realize they
test
need
is
some help.
hard. Mhm.
So, you don't want to be that person. It may be good to go through a
Right.
workshop or weekend workshop to make sure you know everything, or they can help you test and kind of feel confident in going into the real test, right? So feel free to reach out to the qualified. Just mention the roundup and they can provide you a 10% discount. And just as a reminder, that's no kickback to us or anything. Those savings are passed directly to you so you can get hopefully additional certifications, additional CEUs. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having you. So feel free to stay on or get in the comments. You probably have to
Yes,
get
I
back.
wanna see the positions you're showcasing, so I'll be here.
Thank you, thank you. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot for this roundup. We've been busy in many other facets and things internally. So I'll do a better job in the upcoming ones. But you mentioned CDI and the CDIP. Maybe that's one of the ones that we're going to have
Okay.
um, on the jobs portion. But it was a pleasure to have you today. Thank you so much, and
Alright,
we'll see you
thank
around
you.
next time. We're going to have
Alright.
you again, okay? Because I
Okay,
really want to see
alright,
what happens with the with all of the changes within AHEMA and all that good stuff. Okay.
alright. Thanks, everybody.
All right. See you. Thank you. Wow. There were some nuggets there, ladies and gentlemen. So I think that was a lot of information, even within 30 or so minutes or 40 or so minutes. So if you missed it, or if you were not able to stay throughout the whole duration of the presentation, I would truly encourage you to go back or watch this either on YouTube. YouTube's a little bit easier, I feel, because let's say you want to be at the gym in your car, YouTube just kind of plays. Sometimes LinkedIn, you need to be active on, it's a little bit harder, or may just be on your wall. But wow, that was just like a fantastic session. So she's still on in the back, and I believe we have some feedback. So we have Tammy that says, "Thank you for everything. That was a great session." Yvonne says that was great. A great conversation. I was on LinkedIn a second ago because I always like to check the comments on LinkedIn. And this person that I have not really connected with said, "Hey, Bertram, I tuned into your session today. You guys did a fantastic job. Loved it. Going to be tuning in." So it's all about us giving back and just learning more about, you know, our community and our industry as we are taking part in it. Chrissy said, "Thank you for the wonderful advice and have a great day." And Chrissy, remember, connect with Doctor and reach out to her, and you guys, ladies, should have a conversation offline as well. Okay. And Beverly, this is recorded to review, so feel free to, after like 5 or so minutes of the live stream, it's going to be in a record, almost like a YouTube format, so you can go through and you can skip through to the parts that you would like to see. All right, so I'm going to try to wrap up within the next 10 or so minutes. If you have any questions for Mr. B, feel free to go ahead and ask them now, and I'll come to them in a second. Okay, cool. So the jobs that we're highlighting for this week, I just have one, but it is within CDI. So Carrie Miller with the University of Miami Health System, she is looking for a CDS. So if you have a CDI experience or clinical documentation experience, these are some good contacts to be in touch with. And this is the thing. What I like to note about employers or recruiters is that they tend to have opportunities within the same skill set. So I can almost guarantee you within the next 6 or so months, Carrie's going to have other CDI opportunities, right? So get connected with these individuals, let them know that, hey, I saw you on the roundup, Bertram promoted you, whatever. Been connected with these individuals for a while, but Joanne and Carrie are looking for somebody to help them out with their CDI. Okay, cool. John has a really good question. So my YouTube account name is Renown CEO. Renown CEO. That's kind of like my title for anything social media outside of LinkedIn. But you can also search for Bertram Lansico. I am there. So that is Renown CEO. RENOWN CEO. No spaces, no dots or anything. So Renown CEO on YouTube. And what I usually do whenever I show the little clips or ask people to feel free to go watch the full stream, I'll usually have the full YouTube link in there as well. So stay tuned. I'll probably post something tomorrow about some of the nuggets, or at least one of the nuggets that we spoke with her about a little bit earlier. Okay. And Christy mentioned that she's on your website right now. So she's on the-qualified.com right now. So that's awesome. I love it. I love it. Kim, how are you doing today? Kim. Now, Kim and I go way back. I mean, way back when. She was actually one of the first outpatient same-day surgery coders that I hired for the company that I was working for. She worked with us and we partnered together for years. Kim, I remember at the time, if you remember, Kim, you were on the fence about, hey, should I switch over to working with a vendor, right? Work for directly with a hospital for many years. And I told her, I'm a genuine person. I'm telling you, we have consultants that have worked for us for years. Kim did a fantastic job. I think Kim was probably one of the last people that left the organization as to when I even left the organization. So Kim, it's really nice to see you. Thank you so much for being on here and jumping on here as well. Cool. Let's keep it going. So for the Ask Mr. B section, I had somebody that I've been in contact with for a while. So they said that they've been unemployed since February 7th, and this was last year, and laid off from the tech job and started a medical coding program through the AAPC. 9 months of schooling. Now she's anxious to get back to her work life back. And she's not sure if there's anything that I can do for her, but she's applying to jobs and she doesn't seem to have a lot of local jobs in her area. She's going through Practicode until she finds a job. So she's asking, like, what kind of advice can we give her for somebody that's applying to jobs locally, but they're not really finding anything? And you have to, ladies and gentlemen, you have to remember there are essentially 3 or so strategies that you can deploy when you're looking for jobs and opportunities. One is an online strategy. You apply to jobs online, you apply to things that you see on your network, and you try to network that way. The second one that I like is to get involved locally, go to local meetings or attend those virtual meetings, put your hand up at those meetings, right? And the third is to just get involved. Get involved at your local chapter, start volunteering, taking notes, be the treasury, like just have some part because it's funny. And as I mentioned earlier, senior directors and senior decision makers that can say, hey, I would love to hire this person. They're at those meetings, go to a conference. Yeah, that might require some money, that might require time, but I can tell you countless stories of people that I know. They went to a local show, they connected with somebody on the way to the bathroom, whatever the case may be, and that connection led to them being hired. Being online is easy, and applying tactic or strategy number one is extremely easy, but it's also very easy for employers and hiring managers to deny or not accept your request online as well. I'm not saying that if you see them in person, they're going to melt in your hand. That's not always the case, but they can put a face and a voice to a name, and they can get to know you rather than, oh, this is just another, let's say, for example, recruiter, medical coder that reached out to me for a job. You actually start to build a relationship with them. You provided some value to them. You got involved. Part of these roundups for me is I was trying my best to speak at any and all associations that I could. 2020 was a great opportunity. Everything was remote. I actually got burnt out at one point, having over 30 speaking engagements. It seemed like almost every week or every other week I was having multiple speaking engagements. But I said I really want to come back and do speaking at a higher level. What if I can have a speaking engagement and have 200 people on there, right? That's something I'll definitely love to do and have a lot more of, because it's interesting. Almost every speaking engagement that I've had, and I've told them about my story, my testimonial, people have applied those strategies. I'm telling you, within weeks, they actually got jobs and opportunities from those very same strategies. So, you know, just trying the online strategy and just pushing online is one way that you can apply. Try to apply in person, try to connect with somebody, try to know somebody at an employer. Sometimes that person can know who the hiring manager is and just send your resume and say, hey, I connected with Bertram and he's looking for a coding job, and just send you Bertram's resume. That's how I got started in recruiting after 3 years of trying on my own and a mostly online strategy. Okay. Oh, fantastic. Tiffany has mentioned that we should have our guest speaker, Kengia Sabree, Dr. Sabree, back on the roundup. Yes, we are going to do that. We're going to have her back here again. And I don't know, maybe we can try to do something local, because we're actually both local to the Tampa Bay, Pinellas County area in Florida. So we may just do something where we can both be in the room at the same time. So definitely looking forward to having that. Jennifer has mentioned that we're going to actually have a live in person, also going to be online. We're also going to be having a live in person one in Clearwater, Florida. So that's going to be on the 22nd of February. So if you are available around 6 or 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, join us virtually or in person. So if you're in Tampa, even Orlando, if you can't make it, we'd love for you to come down and come to a local event that we're going to be having. And yeah, through the APC website, you can see all the details are right there. All right. Maybe we'll have Dr. Sabree join us as well. Tiffany says that she has questions for us. Feel free to ask. I'm going to go to LinkedIn and see if I can load any comments or questions that have come in. As I mentioned, the platform doesn't always show it. Victoria, hey there. I see you. Sonia, I see you. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, here we go. Here we go. I have to just go down and down to see if I can get all of the comments. So this person asked, don't most CDI positions require our RN degree? All right, that might have been the case, but it's quickly changing. CDI, for the most part, in its first start or infancy, it was more a lot of RNs that had experience both clinically as well as on the health information side, getting those credentials. But now a lot of employers are starting to, especially the HIM employers, revenue cycle employers, they understand that medical coders and coding professionals have a lot of revenue cycle experience, and maybe even a lot of them have worked with the doctors or the nurses on the clinical level. So it's more about your requirements and what you're able to apply. You can have a CDIP, and as a job seeker, just truly seek and find out if that credential can be one of the requirements. So you definitely have to work with the employer. But if you had, let's say, a job opportunity, or a recruiter or employer hiring manager posted a job, just ask them, say, hey, I don't have an RN, but I do have my CDIP. I do have my CCDS. Anyway, I have one of those credentials. Would that work? And just ask the question. Okay. One strategy for a lot of you, because I definitely believe more of my audience is on the health information side rather than the clinical side, is to possibly get hired directly with a vendor on the RCM side, because a lot of these vendors know and appreciate that medical coders and coding professionals have a lot more of that experience on the HM side, and they accept it as well. So I'm not saying it's a done deal, or just not having an RN is never going to be a requirement, but that is slowly changing. A lot of clinical positions are changing as well. Case management, they used to only accept nurses to do that. Now that is also changing for them to accept and even pay the same for social workers, because that's more, I'd say, going towards a social work. Hey, we have a patient within our clinic. They need to get out of here, but they don't necessarily have a home to go to. So they're realizing that yes, a nurse can do that, but also a social worker can do that as well. I was at a conference here in Florida in Orlando, and they were even saying that, hey, what we did was we made the job descriptions the same. We even made the pay the same. So they came and they put those two together to realize that it's going to help them have a better pool of hiring people if we can hire former RNs as well as social workers for that position. So just working with your employers and figuring out exactly what's going on can be a really great help. Okay. Tiffany has another question. Do you have a recommendation or strategy on how new medical coders with support to billers and coders transitioning into coding or data analyst positions? Okay. Of course, there are tons. So one, what I would do, what Refka did, okay, Revka, what Refka did was she deployed an online strategy where she was just sharing tips and knowledge and things that she knew or she was gaining experience. For example, if you would attend a meeting through the AAPC or a HEMA, to go online and to share the following day or days after what you learned, some of the nuggets that you learned, right? Even being a part of this roundup, you can go tomorrow online and say, hey, I attended the roundup. These are the things that they talked about. These were the top 10 things or the top 10 credentials, right? That Dr. Sabree talked about. Like, there's so many different ways that you can do it. But the reason why you want to do that, and I would encourage anybody to do that, is because when you put yourself out there, that's when the opportunities can come. Well, Bertram, I don't want to do that because there's so many creeps. And you know what? You just block them. You block them once, you never have to worry about them again, right? Are they going to create another account just for you or just to annoy you? Likely not going to happen. But when you put yourself out there and you're consistent in doing that, and people can see you and they know you and they know your voice and they know you as a person, that's when the opportunities come. I used to post jobs and opportunities. That's one of the reasons why I became a peak performer in recruiting. But it's funny, even though I wasn't looking for jobs and opportunities for myself, I quickly got job offers to recruit for other companies. And I was like, wow, I guess this social media thing really does work, right? We weren't even supposed to post jobs and opportunities on LinkedIn. I got my hand slapped. I got banned from almost every single HEMA and AAPC group. That inspired me to start my own groups on LinkedIn, right? Coder Nation, as well as remote medical coding professionals. Remote medical coding professionals has close to 20,000 members in it. You know the crazy thing about that too? There's only one recruiter, me. There's no other recruiters. It's just coders. And we're just talking, sharing jobs, opportunities, and insights. I'll share snippets of this on there. And I've been building that for 10 years, So what's the moral of the story? Put yourself out there, post some information, be consistent, make connections. A lot of the people that you see on the roundup, I saw them on LinkedIn and I reached out. I said, hey, looks like you're doing a lot of things that I would love to be a part of, and I want to support you. I don't know you, but why don't we have a quick call? Let's like bridge the gap. And we work together, and here we are today. So it's all good. You can do it. Online strategy, you also want to connect with as many people as you can. So I usually recommend a daily thing. Try to make like 5 or so connections a day, right? You do that, but you also then start connecting with people that you would like to be in the future. So let's say you want to be a coder now, just connect with coders, right? In your local area, then nationally. Then maybe in a few years, I want to be an auditor or manager. Then connect with those individuals. Okay, so that's really how you can, how can I say, build your network out. You see recruiters posting jobs, connect with them. Hire managers, connect with them. So when you start connecting with them, what's funny is that when you post about something that you've learned, they will then see your posts. And so you're in their face, and then they get to know you. So then when you apply and say, hey, I'm actually interested in this opportunity, or you apply, they'll recognize your name and hopefully they can call you. So yeah, there's a million different things that you can do, but I would say if you're going to do a online strategy, that's definitely one that you can entertain. Okay. Chrissy mentioned that she admires Refka and her position, so she's going to give that a try. Fantastic. Betty says, if there's not a path you see, you can make your own. That is absolutely right. You know what's funny? In terms of our space, I don't happen to know any recruiters that started their own recruiting and staffing agency within HIM. Recruiting, yes. Staffing, no. But what was I going to do? Just not do it because no one's done it before? That's why That's why there's a first for everything. So I really appreciate for what you're saying. Betty echoes what I just mentioned. So follow people in your desired position, like their post, comment on their post, and make your own post. Get your name out there. Because what will happen is, for example, whenever you tag somebody in a post or you reshare their post, they see your name. If you have a name as unique as mine, Bertram Lansico, they're just going to say it over and over and over and over. Whenever I do these lives, what happens? You'll usually see Bertram was just live on the roundup. Oh, okay. Like it helps. It helps your engagement. It helps you doing everything that you want to do in the future. Okay. All right. I gotta wrap up because we're gonna be way over, and that may not be for the benefit of everyone. If there's anybody that would like to share their information or that they're open for opportunities, feel free to do now. And I did not see anyone, so I'm gonna go to the next slide. Our next roundup is next week, Wednesday. All right, we're going to have Sonia Patel. She's going to be speaking to us about compliance education. Sonia is is another one that I've known for a very long time, and she's been speaking. She's on multiple podcasts. She does a lot within compliance education. Her and Betty are always doing something together. So, it's really nice to finally have her on the roundup. And she's gonna be another one. We're gonna have another great conversation. And by the end of it, all of you will be saying, like, we need to bring her back again. And that's the thing. I know we can probably have 52 or so different speakers, one for each and every week. But for those that provide value, and I can see that our conversation time was running out and the meeting went over an hour, those are the people that I want to bring back. So Dr. Sabree, I see that you're still online. Thank you so much for being a part of the roundup today. We appreciate you. One thing I just want to say going into the week is that it is a new year. Okay. It's a new year, but I can already see some of us are falling back into our old habits, right? Beginning of the year, hey, we're gonna get in the gym, we're gonna get healthy, and then it started getting cold, and we're like, I don't know, I'm gonna stay home today. I slept in today. You know what? I'm gonna inspire you. Do something different this year. Make this year a different year for you. Get that additional certification. Take that risk. Take that job. Right? Invest in yourself because that is one thing that no one can ever take away from you. So that's something that I'm doing myself. I'm putting myself out there. Everything that I tend to talk about, I am employing. And it's so funny. I started the roundup. Well, one of the reasons I started the roundup is because I wasn't really getting a lot of invitations for some of the big shows. And what's funny? As soon as I started the roundup, the big shows started calling. Even before the call for speakers went out, I got invitations to speak at those same events. And I'm like, I should have started this sooner. And what I realized, it wasn't necessarily me speaking or the roundup in itself. I think it's when people saw that I was being genuine and I was truly trying to just give back to the associations that they felt it was, a proper or appropriate to invite me to speak. So, I encourage each and every one of you, do something different this year. Get those additional certifications. I believe everything that the qualified is doing. And I'm telling you, there are many qualified people I have spoken to, but they did not have credentials and I couldn't help them because their credential was a firm requirement. And I don't see that credential requirement going anywhere anytime soon. And wherever that noise is about you don't need credentials to do the job, I don't know. What I do is I look at the top level. If the top level directors all have multiple credentials, what business do I have as a professional not having those credentials? So if they don't have them, then maybe that's a conversation. But if they have them and if they are maintaining them and taking place in their local associations, what should you do if you want to be part of that crowd? Do as a crowd is doing. Okay. So we hope that we inspired you. We hope that we gave you some insight. I apologize if I couldn't get to your comments. We had too many comments to go through every single one of them. We tried our best to do that, answer all questions. But you know what? It's okay. We're going to have a roundup next week and the next week and the next week and the next week. And we're going to continue having fun. So go out, continue to give back and be renowned or be forgotten. I'll see you guys and ladies next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.